everyone, I'm your host Neha and you're tuned into Durian Dreaming, the show that brings you extraordinary stories from seemingly ordinary experiences in Indonesia's fast-paced market. Let's dive into today's conversation with another inspiring guest. Hi everyone, today on Durian Dreaming, we are joined by someone who has seen every angle of consumer world. T.H. Kim. He started his career at Procter Gamble, where he was selling into retailers across Asia. Fast forward, now he's on the other side of the table, running the store himself as the president director of Lotte Group Indonesia. Lotte is one of Korea's biggest groups, with businesses spanning from retail to food to hotels and even amusement parks. In this conversation, we'll talk to TH about his leadership journey from the P&G days to Lotte and how Korean culture is shaping what Indonesians eat, buy, and the future of e-commerce. So grab your coffee because this is going to be an interesting conversation about leadership, culture, and the future of shopping in Indonesia.
Hello, Nia. How are you? Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too, TH. Thank you so much for being here. So, TH, before we dwell into the conversation about your journey from P&G to Lotte and everything in between, tell us how has your career journey been so far?
My career started back in 1998 with P&G Korea. And I worked in P&G for about 20 years, a little bit more than 20 years in various roles. I joined the sales function. And I was based in Korea for the most part, but I did spend 1 year in the US as well as 5 years in Singapore. So after my final role in P&G before leaving was I was the sales vice president for P&G Korea before I left. After that, I decided that after working against retailers for 20 years, I wanted to see how it was on the other side of the fence. So I decided to join this multinational retailer group called, back then it was called Dairy Farm. Now it's DFI, based in Singapore. So I worked as a regional commercial and e-commerce director for the health and beauty banner, which is Guardian, across Southeast Asia for a little bit more than 5 years. That led me to my current role, which I started back in January of 2024, which is as the president director of Lotte Shopping and Lotte Mart, Indonesia. So I spent close to last 2 years in Indonesia with this role.
You started your career at P&G, right? Which is the training ground for most of the global leaders. What lessons from your P&G days have been stuck with you throughout your career?
Yeah, definitely. I must say that P&G is still one of my foundational experiences I had that helped me to get through my career. I think first of all, because also I was in sales, it was to have the customer-centric mindset. So it's not really about what I want to sell; it's about really what the customer wants to buy. Similarly, the CEO of P&G back when I first joined P&G, Mr. A.G. Lafley, he always used to say, "Consumer is the boss." At the end of the day, our mission is to increase the share of wallet from customers by providing products and services that will satisfy them. So that has also helped me to go through the retail world as well, because it's the same. I think lastly, it's really about thinking of the people as our biggest asset. So that has also stuck with me throughout my career.
Right. So at P&G, like you mentioned, you were selling into the retail stores. Now at Lotte, you are the retailer. So what was the transition like moving from a supplier to the retailer side?
Yeah, obviously at first I was a bit apprehensive, but I must say the transition was not as bad as I thought. Because also when I was in sales, I worked on many projects like category management, shopper-based design, which was at the end of the day to how to grow the overall size of the pie for the total category. So I had to, think of that as well. But on the supplier side, when you think you have the different channels or the retailers, those are the strings you can pull. A similarity is on the retailer side, you have the different different categories and brands that you can also have a different mix to get to your overall target.
But then moving again, and I think this time from Korea to Indonesia, that adds a whole new layer of cultural complexity. So, how have you had to adjust your leadership approach to fit into the Indonesian culture or Indonesian context?
I think still, there are many like leadership skills I learned from my previous companies that I still practice today. For example, things like situational leadership, coaching your people,
Mm,
the mindset of servant leadership. I think those also hold very well here in Indonesian context as well. But also, I did have to get used to some new leadership paradigms, such as here, the president director is expected to make all the key decisions. Unlike some of the multinational companies I worked for, where there is a more of a process-driven or a system-driven um, uh, process where they give you certain, suggestions for decisions. So that's something that I had to get used to. In the context of, working within Indonesia, I did, work with Indonesians starting from back, I think, from 2010, when I
okay.
was trying to prepare for the launch of Downy in Indonesia.
Okay.
But obviously back then it was for a foreigner coming in on a business trip and,
Mm,
just engaging with the locals here.
yeah.
But now, I'm living here and
Yeah.
also as a resident,
Huh.
leading an organization of, close to 5,000 people on an
Wow.
everyday basis.
Yeah.
That's a different challenge. So, I had to learn to become a, decisive leader
Hmm.
while not breaking the so-called harmony that is so important to the Indonesian culture.
Right. TH, let's talk a bit more about the K wave or the cultural influence. Now, Korean culture has taken Indonesia by storm. From K dramas to K pop fashion to lifestyle to K beauty, everything. How do
Mhm.
you see K wave shaping consumer taste to Indonesia beyond just entertainment?
Yeah, I think K-Wave is definitely here to stay and
Okay.
going beyond just entertainment.
Mhm.
As I live here, what I can also observe is Indonesians are really kind of absorbing the overall Korean culture, the
Hmm.
customs, and obviously also the Korean food as well. In our recently renewed store in Bali,
Okay.
I've been into that store many times since
Hmm.
we opened it back in late August.
Hmm.
And we have a seating area for Korean food there that we produce. And in almost every table, I can see either tteokbokki or kimbap, and the
Hmm.
Indonesians are really enjoying in that. And in our flagship store in Gandaria City,
Hmm.
already more than 1 million customers have enjoyed Korean food in our Yorihata kitchen, which just proves you that there are many, many Indonesians who have now taken a liking of Korean food, not only like as a one-time kind of
Hmm.
thing, but they enjoy more different types of food, and they also enjoy it more regularly.
Right. Teach, how many retail outlets of Lotte does Indonesia have?
So in Indonesia, we have total 48 stores, of which
Okay.
36 are what we call Lotte Grossier or wholesale stores, and
Okay.
12 are Lotte Mart or retail stores. And we have our store network spans not only in Java, but also we have stores in Sumatra, Kalimantan, Sulawesi, Bali, and also Lombok.
Wow. Indomart and Alphamart dominate convenience retail stores with more than 40,000 stores nationwide.
Mhm.
How does Lotte position itself in a market which is so heavily dominated by Alphamart and Indomart?
I think as a big box retailer, the best way to compete against a small box store is to provide an experience that cannot be matched in a small box store.
Hmm.
I would mention 3 points of difference that we focus
Okay.
on. I
Hmm.
think first is the importance of fresh and ready-to-eat offerings. High quality, yet affordable fresh food and quick meals. Second is the importance of convenience. High quality, yet affordable fresh food and quick meals. Third is the importance of affordability. High quality, yet affordable fresh food and quick meals. Third is the importance of convenience. High quality, yet affordable fresh food and quick meals. is something that cannot be matched by mini markets and even pasars. Especially in those stores where we have improved our offering for these categories, we are seeing disproportionate growth in our overall store sales. Second, I would say is the variety of product ranges to choose from. A mini market may be able to sell some of the necessities people have, but they will not be able to offer customers a wide range to choose from. That is why also Lotte is putting a lot of effort to increase our range of import products and also exclusive range, including private label products. Last but not least, I think the better value is what customers look for mostly, especially in the times of like this, where the economic situation is not very favorable. That's why we are also strengthening our value proposition, especially to our professional and end user members in various ways. For example, we do have many products where we provide what we call a BBLM pricing, which is beli banyak, lebih murah. So buy more and then save more, so that customers can get a discount when they buy more. Also, especially to our professional and end user members, we have started to provide more points for their purchase and also have member discounts, so special prices, especially for the members.
All right, great. Did you mention somewhere that, some of the offerings of Lotte, especially are very different than what Indomart, Alpha Mart, or mini markets can offer, or even Varungs and Pasars? So Lotte operates hypermarkets, supermarkets, convenience stores globally. But Indonesia is geographically very fragmented with very different local economies. So, what do you see the right retail format for Indonesia? And how do you decide where to expand, like big cities or smaller towns?
Yeah, I think Indonesians are young, fun-loving, and looking for new experiences. At Lotte Mart, we want to continue to expand the format where we can satisfy these needs by leveraging our focus on fresh food and also the ready-to-eat and exclusive range, which I just mentioned before. On the other hand, there are also many warungs and eateries popping up in all these islands. That is where our network of the 36 Lotte Grossier stores is there to provide those customers with stable supply, with the correct pricing and the right range of products. In terms of the expansion, we are continuously looking for new sites, but we are also, we know that we're not going to be able to satisfy all customers. So we're looking for those areas, for example, for Lotte Mart, we look into those areas where there is a relatively good sized population of mid to high affluent population that can enjoy more of the Korean food or offerings that we have. And also for the Lotte Grossier stores, we're looking into areas where there is a lot of unserved professional customers that need a constant supply of and a reliable supply of quality products.
Because Indonesia, the retail margins are very thin, and Indonesian that consumers are highly price sensitive. How do you decide the balance between the quality and affordability?
Yeah, I think that's it's a dilemma we always have, right? Because yes, you're right. The Indonesian customers are very price sensitive. I think especially these days because the economic situation is not as good as before. And also the other challenge is that it is also very difficult to bring in new products, especially from outside of Indonesia, into Indonesia. So we try to, in terms of the, we do see certain what we call seed products, where it's very important, where to have very competitive pricing in the market. But then we are trying to, in a way, sweeten the mix by also uncovering new products where people will not be so price sensitive, and also can in a way treat themselves and splurge themselves into something that they want to buy. So I think, even back when when I was at P&G, we always talked about the different shopping journey of when people are wanting to buy the things that they want to buy versus the products that they need to buy. And I think what the customer's mindset is very different depending on whether it's a need or a want. So we try to balance those two. Obviously, it's a lot of the seed items that I mentioned are going to be the necessities where we need to
Mm,
have the right range that customers always want and
mm,
need and are very price sensitive. But then when it comes to the importance of our fresh as well as ready to eat as well as import products, is
mm.
we are expanding those ranges to be able to satisfy the wants of the customers on the products that they want to buy and experience.
Right. And what are these seed products where you want to keep pricing very affordable?
Yeah, I think obviously the basic items, in Indonesia we call them the sembako product, right? Obviously the
Mm,
minyak goreng, rice, sugar. Many of those items are also the price is regulated as well. But then even
right.
outside of that, there's obviously the noodles,
Mm,
and then also some of the meat like chicken, vegetables, some of the packaged milk items,
mm,
eggs. So there are those certain items where most of the Indonesian baskets are filled with, and they are
mm.
very, conscious of the price.
So, TH, Indonesia is also Southeast Asia's largest e-commerce market. So, how is Lotte adapting the e-commerce, the rise of e-commerce, and the shift from offline to online shopping?
Yes, actually, e-commerce is definitely in our horizon.
Mm,
Having said that, what we do see, and I guess one other point I need to make is Korea has probably is moved to online. It's one of those countries where it has moved online the fastest. Right now, I think for FMCG categories, in
mm,
most categories, more than 50% of the total sales nationally is done online. And coming from such an environment, obviously, when I first landed here, also I was looking into e-commerce very seriously.
mm,
However, we do see certain categories such as like general merchandise, as well as
mm,
certain kind of FMCG categories moving to online quickly. But I
mm,
think for most of the bread and butter categories for that we carry, we
mm,
still see that, customers prefer offline. I think it's because not so much because of the front end experience. I think that is common across the world. However, there are some challenges structurally in Indonesia on the back end side, which is a combination of the system integration, security, as well as the logistics. So we are also going to go down that path of growing
okay.
e-commerce.
Mm,
However, in order for us to really be able to keep our promise to our customers, we're in the midst of investing and growing our muscles on the back end side first,
right.
in the areas of fulfillment, system integration,
Mm,
and currently, instead of trying to have our own e-commerce platform, so to say,
mm.
we are working with the third-party partners such as Grab and HappyFresh to collaborate with them on this path.
All right. TikTok's massive growth in Indonesia has kind of blurred lines between a social media and commerce. It's become all like social commerce. How do you see Lotte playing in social commerce directly? Or would Lotte be more as a supplier to these platforms or these ecosystems?
So currently, again, we haven't really gone into social commerce very actively yet.
Mhm,
Um, I think it's also because, as I mentioned, many of the products that we currently sell are just, the products you can find in anywhere. And it's very difficult to kind of find a point of difference to really talk about through social media. One area that we are thinking of how if we do, how to move forward in that area is again some of the experiential categories, such as like our Korean food offerings, etc., where we can, show the experience in front of a camera to the customers and lead that to the purchase as well.
Hmm.
But I must say we still are in the very beginning stages of that. We first want to create a more of a very strong marketing campaign of how
Hmm.
to better expose that experience to the customer. And then once we have that, I think that can naturally lead to some sort of social commerce as well.
Right. So in Indonesia, we have social commerce, we have omni-channel, but Indonesia's economy is also slowing down. The middle class is shrinking. Do you also see these shifts in consumer spending? And what does it mean to your business?
Yes, we definitely see that trend. So our overall basket size also for us is not growing. Although we keep getting new customers in, so our penetration is increasing, but basket size, increasing that is quite a challenge, which then also leads me to the how we are trying to transform some of our stores. So in the past, obviously our stores were these big box. 7,000 square meter stores where if you want to get to like the fresh corner, you had to walk like 2-3 minutes just to get to there.
Hmm.
But as we have done, like in our Gandaria City store, we are actually choosing to reduce our, shop floor size,
Hmm.
and offering more contents like the Yuriada kitchen, or even securing more tenants,
Hmm.
subtenants in front of our store that will help the customer to at least come to our store, and then that shopping trip within our store becomes all that much easier and quicker, which
Hmm.
and then also more focused on the products that the customers want to buy versus what we want them to see. So that's how we try to make the shopping trip a little bit more enjoyable, less
Hmm.
burdensome, and more compact, so that the customer can still get all the things that she wants to buy
Hmm.
in a much shorter time.
Right. But Korean brands have, and irrespective of the category, the Korean brands are often seen as very aspirational and premium in Indonesia. But Indonesia, and I know somewhere we've touched upon this, Indonesia is a very price sensitive environment. And so are the economic conditions these days. So, how can Korean brands survive and even thrive without losing their aspirational appeal?
I think that's also another very important point.
Hmm.
So I think when it comes to Korean like packaged products, um, they have to be very, very conscious of the price. That's
Hmm.
why, again, we sometimes criticize ourselves. Or when I say ourselves, is among the Korean manufacturers, including Korean manufacturers, that sometimes we think, just because it's Korean, it will sell.
Hmm.
But yeah, there's some truth to that. But also, there's many parts where when people have a fixed budget, they don't have the mental, let's say, freedom to be able to splurge on those products. So we do try to give that feedback to the Korean manufacturers, and then
Hmm.
even for some of the prices that we control, like the Korean food, is we make sure that we keep everything very, very affordable, because
Hmm.
we know, let's say, a bowl of nasi goreng, local warung is going to cost less than 20,000 rupiah.
Hmm.
Then compared to that, how much can we charge a Korean food? Obviously, there is going to be an upcharge because of some of the ingredients we have to import and all that. But then we try to keep everything below 50,000 rupiah, so that we make it very affordable for the Indonesian customers.
And how important is Indonesia to Lotte Group's global strategy?
It is very important, I would say. I mean, Lotte does have a lot of global footprint,
Hmm.
but Indonesia is, I think, the country, the biggest country for Lotte Group outside of Korea, from a sales perspective. And
Okay.
even within Lotte Retail,
Hmm.
our business here in Indonesia is actually the biggest in terms of size as well. So there's a lot and also we're in an environment where in terms of our home country, Korea economy is not growing as fast, because we also, especially for retail, the population has started to decrease because it's an aging population with a very low birth rate. So there's a lot of hope and also wish for the international part of the Lotte retail business to become like a growth engine for total Lotte Group.
Right. Because in Korea, Lotte is a very diversified giant. Like you have your hotels, you have your entertainment center, you have retail, you have amusement parks. So do you see more of those business lines eventually opening up in Indonesia or expanding into Indonesia?
I think all those kind of like sister companies have some kind of plan in Indonesia as well. But I think for some of those plans to materialize, obviously there has to be many things that also need to be true, including some of the regulations of the government and also the being able to kind of acquire the land or the licenses to do that, which sometimes in Indonesia can take some time to get. So I think definitely Indonesia, as I said, is the biggest market outside Korea. I mean, outside of our retail business, we also have a big investment that we have made in the chemical business. And then we also have other subsidiaries already here. But when it comes to like, your entertainment or other food, I think some of those like Lotte Cinema and Lotteria, like the fast food, has come to Indonesia before, but then had to exit because of especially during COVID. But there are still also other kind of businesses still knocking on the door.
Right. TH, one last question. Indonesia's consumer landscape is changing fast. So there's Gen Z, then there are households which are coping with inflation, the shrinking middle class, the digital natives, but the retail is at the heart of it. So if you had to bet on one big retail trend shaping the next 5 years in Indonesia, what would it be?
I think it's still gonna be, I mean, if I look at our Indonesian customers and also my colleagues, again, as I said before, they're very fun-loving young people who are looking for various experiences, which, because not many are able to travel abroad, they want to have that kind of experience here in Indonesia as well. So I think, especially as a supermarket and hypermarket chain, one of the trends that we will continuously try to like lead is to provide that experience that cannot be matched online, such as whether it's new type of food or new type of trends that we want to lead. So as you mentioned, I also want to continuously see how I can leverage the K-pop culture into retail as well. Just yesterday, actually, we had a small event in our Gandaria City store where we leverage the seasonality of what we call Chuseok, which is like Thanksgiving of Korea. So we have certain traditions of that we celebrate during Chuseok, which we also introduced to the Indonesian customers. We also took the chance to give back to the Indonesian our community by working with Basnas to donate certain proceeds of the sales we are getting from during this period. So again, I think it's about really providing differentiated experience and also being a very big part of the community, local community. And as long as we can do that, whether it's online or offline, I think Indonesian customers will really appreciate that.
Thank you so much, Tia, for a great, engaging conversation, sharing how Lotte is eyeing Indonesia, what it has in store when it comes to for expanding into this market. So thank you for sharing those insights with us, and thanks for your time to be on with us on Durian Dreaming.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure.
Thanks, TH. And that's a wrap for this episode of Durian Dreaming. I hope today's discussion sparked some new ideas for you. Don't forget to subscribe, share your thoughts, and stay tuned for more exciting stories. Until next time, keep dreaming big.